The eyes of two small children sparkled, glued to the window of a toy store that seemed like a portal to a magical world. A boy in a grey hooded jacket and a girl in a dark jacket and vibrant pink blouse pointed with tiny fingers at the giant teddy bears and colourful games inside. The scene from the outside was one of pure innocence and childish desire, but from the inside, reality was very different. A woman, dressed in a blue cleaner's uniform and a white apron, held a red bucket and a mop, her face marked by an expression of sadness and humiliation. Beside her, a man in an impeccable suit, with a watch that seemed worth a fortune on his wrist, pointed his finger at her, his mouth open in a silent scream, his face red with anger. The sparkle of the toys contrasted cruelly with the tension in the air, with the visible pain in the woman's eyes. What had happened there for the joy of the toys to mix with so much bitterness? That moment, frozen in time, was just the beginning of a story you would never imagine. Now I'm going to ask you to click subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories like this. The city of Aspen, Colorado, was a paradise for the rich, a place where luxury was not a whim, but the very grass that covered the vast gardens of the mansions. Tree-lined streets, luxury cars parading like works of art on wheels, and stores displaying in their windows the most expensive and exclusive items in the world. It was in this opulent setting that Toy Kingdom, a store that looked more like a castle of dreams for children, stood. Its shelves were filled with dolls in silk dresses, remote-control cars that cost the price of a popular car, and teddy bears so large they barely fit in a child's arms. The store was a symbol, a landmark, a place where only the children of Aspen's elite could fulfill their most extravagant wishes. But for most people, it was just a distant dream, a window to look at from the outside, with eyes full of desire, but empty pockets. In this universe of wealth and ostentation lived a woman named Jocelyn. Jocelyn was not from Aspen, but from a simpler neighborhood on the other side of town, where houses were smaller, cars older, and dreams often had to be kept in drawers. She worked as a cleaner at Toy Kingdom, cleaning the shiny floors, organizing the shelves, and, ironically, polishing the toys that her own children, Jasper and June, could never have. Jocelyn was a woman of grit, with a heart bigger than her salary, and a dignity that not even the humblest job could erase. Every day she saw the sparkle in the eyes of rich children, the easy smiles of parents who bought without looking at the price, and felt a pang in her chest, not out of envy, but out of a deep desire to be able to provide the same for her children. Jasper, at 7 and June at 5, were the reason for her life, the strength that drove her to wake up every day before sunrise and face the tiring journey. They were intelligent, curious children, and above all, understanding. They knew their mother worked hard and never complained about the lack of expensive toys. They were content with the small pleasures of life, with games invented in the backyard, with the stories their mother told before bed. The store manager, a man named Preston, was the personification of arrogance and lack of empathy. He wore expensive suits, gold watches, and spoke in a tone of voice that always seemed to reprimand. Preston saw Jocelyn not as a person, but as a tool, an invisible part of the gear that kept the store impeccable. He treated her with contempt, with a superior gaze that made Jocelyn shrink inside, but never made her give up. She needed that job. She needed that salary, however small, to feed her children, to pay the rent, to keep the flame of hope alive. One day, Jasper and June, during a rare moment off for their mother, visited her at the store. They were curious to see the place where their mother spent most of her day. Jocelyn, with a tired but loving smile, greeted them at the back door, asking them to be quiet and not draw attention. The children, with wide eyes, observed the sparkle of the toys, the grandeur of the place. They had never seen so many toys together, so many dreams piled on shelves. It was then that Preston, the manager, saw them. His face, previously expressionless, contorted into a grimace of disgust. "What are these children doing here?" he growled, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. Jocelyn tried to explain, apologized, but Preston wouldn't listen. "This is not a daycare, Jocelyn. Your children are not welcome here. This store is for customers, not for the riffraff," he shouted, pointing his finger at her, at the children at the door. Preston's words hit Jocelyn like a punch to the stomach. The humiliation was public, the pain unbearable. Jasper and June, frightened, hid behind their mother, their eyes welling up. Jocelyn, her voice choked, took her children's hands and left the store, head bowed, heart in pieces. That day, Toy Kingdom ceased to be a place of dreams and became a stage of nightmares. That day, something changed inside Jocelyn. The pain of humiliation turned into a flame, a silent promise that one day she and her children would no longer be seen as riffraff. The humiliation suffered at Toy Kingdom was a turning point in Jocelyn's life. That day, the pain of shame transformed into a driving force, an engine that would push her to seek something more, something that would lift her out of that vulnerable situation. She knew she couldn't continue living that way, that her children deserved more than the life she could offer. That incident, however painful, ignited a flame of determination in her heart. Jocelyn began to research, to read, to learn about the world of business, about investments, about how money worked. She spent sleepless nights after an exhausting day at work, studying from books borrowed from the public library, watching videos online, absorbing every piece of information like a sponge. She discovered that behind the facade of luxury and ostentation, there was a world of opportunities, a world where knowledge and strategy could open doors that money alone could not. Jocelyn, with her sharp intelligence and unwavering persistence, began to devise a plan. She realized that to get out of that situation, she would need more than a cleaner's salary. She would need a radical change, a game changer. She started saving every penny, cutting unnecessary expenses, living with the bare minimum. Her children, Jasper and June, even though young, understood the situation and supported their mother. They saw the determination in her eyes, the hope in her smile, and knew that something big was coming. Jocelyn, over time, began to invest small amounts in shares of companies she thoroughly researched, companies that had a promising future but were not yet known to the general public. She learned to analyze the market, identify trends, and make risky but calculated decisions. And to the surprise of many, she began to succeed. Her investments, initially small, began to grow, multiply, and turn into a considerable sum. Jocelyn's life, little by little, began to change. She still worked as a cleaner, but now with a new perspective, with a new purpose. She was no longer the humiliated woman, but a strategist, an investor, a woman who was building her own empire, brick by brick. She continued to go to Toy Kingdom every day, to clean the floor, to polish the toys, but now with a discreet smile on her lips, a different sparkle in her eyes. Preston, the manager, continued to treat her with contempt, unaware that the woman he so humiliated was, in fact, becoming a force to be reckoned with. Jocelyn, with her intelligence and discretion, kept her plans secret, without boasting about her achievements, without flaunting her growing wealth. She knew that time was her greatest ally, and that revenge, when served cold, was much sweeter. Years passed, and Jocelyn's fortune grew exponentially. She became a successful investor, a respected businesswoman, but she still kept her personal life discreet, away from the spotlight. Her children, Jasper and June, grew up, studied in the best schools, and became brilliant young adults with a promising future. They knew their mother's story, the humiliation she had suffered, and how she had transformed pain into strength. They were Jocelyn's greatest pride, living proof that perseverance and determination could overcome any obstacle. One day, Jocelyn received news that would change everything. Toy Kingdom, the store that had once humiliated her, was for sale. The news spread quickly through Aspen, and many wealthy investors were interested in the opportunity. But Jocelyn, with her strategic vision, saw something no one else did. She saw the chance to rewrite her own story, to turn past pain into a spectacular triumph. She approached the store owners, made an irresistible offer, and, in a short time, Toy Kingdom had a new owner. The news shocked everyone in Aspen. No one knew who the mysterious buyer was, the woman who had acquired one of the city's most iconic stores. On the day of the grand reopening, Toy Kingdom was packed. The local press, the curious, the old customers, everyone wanted to know who the new owner was. Preston, the manager, was there, in his impeccable suit, his forced smile, ready to flatter the new boss. The store door opened, and Jocelyn, dressed in an elegant silk dress, a pearl necklace worth a fortune, and a confident smile on her lips, entered. She was no longer the humiliated cleaner, but the woman who had conquered her place in the world, the woman who had transformed pain into power. Preston, seeing her, turned pale. His eyes widened, his mouth opened in an O of astonishment. He couldn't believe what he saw. The cleaner, the riffraff, was now his boss, the owner of the store he so cherished. Jocelyn, with a serene but firm gaze, approached Preston. "Preston," she said, her voice calm but full of meaning, "I think we have a lot to talk about." That moment, the game changer, justice being served, was a spectacle for all who witnessed it. Jocelyn did not seek revenge, but reparation, proof that a person's worth is not in their bank account, but in their character, in their willpower. Jocelyn's story spread like wildfire in Aspen, and soon throughout the country. She became a symbol of hope, of overcoming, that it is possible to transform pain into strength, humiliation into triumph. Toy Kingdom, under Jocelyn's new management, became a place of inclusion, where all children, regardless of their social status, were welcome. She created toy donation programs for needy children, offered scholarships for talented young people, and transformed the store into a community support center. Preston, in turn, was fired and had to face the consequences of his actions. Life, like a mirror, reflected back to him the same humiliation he had inflicted on Jocelyn. Jocelyn's story shows us that true wealth is not in money, but in the ability to dream, to fight, to transform adversity into opportunity. It teaches us that dignity and respect are non-negotiable values, and that justice, even if it takes time, always comes. And you, what would you do if you were in Jocelyn's place? Would you seek revenge or reparation? Share your opinion in the comments. We want to know what you think. If this story touched you, made you reflect, inspired you, don't forget to like and share it with your friends and family. And to not miss any emotional stories like this that make you think and feel, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Your participation is very important to us. If you've made it this far, I've left a story that I'm sure you'll like. It's here on the screen. Just click on this video that's appearing for you. See you there.